Okay, here we have the best pitcher on the planet. I guess that might be up for a little bit of debate. So let's see how Paul Skenes is on, compared to my Tommy John injury formula. So, right away, we've got elbows, arms away from the body and protracted shoulder blades. So the upper traps are on. I'd want to teach more relaxed arms. But again, this guy throws 150 miles an hour, but I'm comparing this to my formula and what I would teach adolescents. So right now, he's essentially in the shrug category, right? But then he does come back and relaxes them, right? And you can see, right? Well, you can just see the upper trap just, his shirt relaxes, but they're still a little protracted, right? And that means they're kind of rounded. All right, the next thing to look at is his foot. All right, so the foot's going to be the indication of when we are going home, right? So as we fast forward this around, right, you're going to see starting to lift his leg right there. You're going to see how that, so his leg isn't even up, right? So right now, there's weight a little bit on the lateral side of his foot. You can see by his cleats, not into the ground, right? And then watch the foot, right? We have to get a stable pillar to move around. There it goes, compressing the ground. So right there, he's already going home. So let's stop him there and let's rewind. So his leg is up, but he's drifting, right? He's not, he's already moving home plate. If you saw my Roger Clemens, Kurt Schilling video, their feet remain stable. There's no movement of the foot because it's already in the ground the entire time. So he's going forward, okay? And then, he gets into the dreaded kind of hyper-abduction, internal rotation, the Kimura, the inverted W, or the M, whatever you want to call it. But this is a big shrug, right? So there's a lot of upper trap engagement, right? So here, if we somehow had a MRI, right, that we could look at during movement, he is kind of impinging, right? Because that shoulder blade, the upper trap are all the way up, not depressed. So he is in violation of the scapulohumeral rhythm, which is essentially my shrug. So he's got the shrug and the drift. But Paul Skenes is an incredible athlete, right? So watch, again, we're going to go back to the foot. So immediately now he has, you got this little apparatus here in front of foot strike. But oh my goodness, look what happens in front foot strike. All of his weight onto the front leg. He's just in toe touch. Okay, and you'll see because of that and because he's not dragging his leg, his arm caught up to him, right? And because he's not dragging, he doesn't have excessive layback, right? I see guys that are, down here, right, on layback, right? He is probably, we can actually measure that, let's say. So let's put our little doohickey there. And we'll put that there, move this up there. Yeah, I was going to say about 70, 75 degrees, 60. Let's get that straight. Hold on. Damn technology. Yeah, 75 degrees, right? I see guys that are 90 and even past that, right? And that's because you're dragging the back leg. But he's barely a toe touch, and then amazingly, look at that. The foot is off the ground, and he is rotating around that leg with tremendous force. And then there it is. He is throwing the ball. He comes 3/4, right? But there's the blur of the arm. I know it's out of the screen. but that's downhill, and then he drives around that front leg. Okay? I mean, watch the belly button. He plants, spins, and he's free to turn because he's not dragging the leg. So here's a guy who has essentially the drift and the shrug, okay, but turns out to throw downhill because he doesn't have the drag, okay? And obviously he's a tremendous athlete, okay? But that's, and we can review, there's the foot going forward, pelvis going forward, shrugging, okay? And then, but still throwing the ball downhill. Not bad.